be available. Let me very quickly change the stream title, guys. The series is beginning. Shopify Rebellion versus the Afreeca Freecs. The World Team League, Week 3, Day 2. Let's hope that 6-0 Saturdays do not continue, as in the top left side corner of the map, our Blue Zerg player is Scarlett. Bottom right, our Red Protoss player from the Afreeca Freecs is Stats. And we get into game 1 of this best of 7. The sun is shining out in Canada for Scarlett, apparently. It's shining here as well in England. It's kind of incredible. It's been sunny. You know what? It's not been sunny, but it's not been super grey and dark outside lately. It's been surprisingly nice. All right, so the Shopify Rebellion, to talk about where the teams are at in this league, obviously the Afreeca Freecs are looking good. They came through 4-2 against Liquid, 6-0 against Team Exxon. The Shopify Rebellion took a win off Team Exxon, 4-2. What was sad for the Shopify Rebellion was last week they should have had a win. Quite frankly, they should have been able to beat KaiZ Gaming. Beyond was so far ahead in that ace match. They should be 2-0 right now. Instead, they're 1-1. They at least lost in an ace match. They picked up a point. Currently sitting at 7th place in the table in the league, but that is, of course, with a with this match still to play, while other teams have already got 3 matches down. A win here today for them, or a point here today, could put them back ahead of Alpha-X, of KaiZ. For the Afreeca Freecs, obviously, they're looking to stay at the top of the league. The Afreeca Freecs, one of 4 teams to be undefeated still. And that's alongside KaiZ Gaming, Team NV, and Good Game Gaming. Team NV being the first team to secure a 3-0. Good Game Gaming going to be playing tomorrow, as will KaiZ Gaming, in what should also be a pretty fun day of action. In case you don't know, tomorrow's matches in the World Team League. Good Game Gaming take on Team Exxon. KaiZ Gaming take on Team GP. That's happening tomorrow, Sunday, the 11th of April, in the World Team League summer season. Week 3 of 11 for the regular season. And then we enter the playoffs a little bit further down the line as well. Very exciting stuff, guys. Very exciting stuff as a Stargate will begin to build here from Stats. Have a little bit more of a look at this game rather than results of these teams and where they're at. But just wanted to set the scene. Afreeca Freecs definitely that team which a lot of people are looking at and saying, well, this is a team which is at the top end, right? They are, S tier. And, you look at Shopify Rebellion and say people are kind of, probably thinking that, Shopify Rebellion, maybe a little bit down from that. They're just one step back from these teams. They can compete. They're probably the underdogs, though. As mentioned, really excited to see what Scarlett comes out with. See if she's got a plan with how to deal with the stats, as we do have the Ling speed coming through. The Stargate from Stats is going to open with an Oracle. We'll see if he wants to play a Void Ray kind of style, or if he actually just wants to play into a triple Oracle or so. That's one of the things that Stats really kind of brought to the scene in general, and has been seeing some love as of late when people have not been going Void Rays. Triple Oracle seems to be the other way of setting up in this Stargate build if you're going to stick with the Stargate rather than committing through to, like a Twilight Council and Glaives very quickly after one Stargate unit. Adepts get up, and they're going to get rid of quite a few drones here. 3 workers already down. 1 Adept falls now, but this is pretty bad damage as 4 workers go down. That's a lot more than you can really afford at this stage. So that's already a bit of a win here from Stats, who is now going to come in with the Oracle. The Queens are just not quite in that mineral line as well, so that's 2 more drones dead. And that's 6 early game workers to Adepts and Oracles, and that's a little painful. That's definitely not what you want in a Scarlett, who does have Lings to counterattack with. We'll see if she can do anything on that 3rd base. There's a Void Ray that just popped out, and Stats is going to go Twilight Council behind this, so maybe there is still some intentions of, like, Glaives at the end of the day. Going to be interested to see just what exactly that Twilight Council is going to be for. 2 more drones going down, just 1 Oracle again, full of shields, so it has no, feels no risk going into these positions. 1, 2 more drones. Take some actual damage this time around. Scarlett, you can see on her face, she's realizing that that's a lot of drone damage to be taken. Stats just picking apart this early game very nicely so far. Yeah, there's that glaive. So it's an Oracle of Void Ray now into glaives, and with the damage that you've done here as stats, it's one of those scenarios where Scarlett needs to find the right mix of getting back on track with her economy while still finding the right time to take a step away and say, right, well, I actually need to be able to defend against these adepts, so I need to be able to produce, you know, something that's going to deal with that. She's going into Ling Bane, which is not typically a good setup against adepts. However, that's usually when we talk about 4-gate adept. This is a little bit later in the game, where you can afford more Banelings. Usually the issue when you play against 4-gate adept, if you play Ling Bane, is that you can morph in 4 or 5 Banes, and that's it. And then more adepts warp in, you have no Banelings left over, and you kind of just die. In this scenario, she should be able to afford more Banelings. The question is she going to have them in time? The adepts don't have glaives yet. If Banes start to morph right away, this might not be so bad. She shouldn't really be running into the adepts middle of the map, though, so that's a little bit problematic. Just going to see our adept shading straight up this ramp. First queen is going to go down. Second queen falls as well, and Scarlett's preparation for this resonating glaives is pretty much zero. As we're just going to be seeing the drones starting to pull down from the high ground. Queens are continuing to drop, and that's just a problem in itself. Especially when you're trying to play Ling Bane, you know, Queens, you know, you need lava. And not having lava is going to be a massive problem, and that's exactly the problem that we're going to walk into here. As we're just going to be seeing these adepts continue to fight out. And I don't really know what you do as Scarlett to really fix this. I think the adepts, the initial adepts, the 2 adepts, and the oracles, they obviously did way too much. They put Scarlett behind, and Stats was able to take that lead and run with it, making his glaives upgrade. As we came down into this. Bottom right hand side, our blue Zerg player Scarlett, who just needs a better early game. Oh, and top left, our red Protoss player 12 pylon, huh? Stats. That's not a 12 pylon, it's a 13 pylon. Sorry, it's a 12 pool. I'm looking at the player's production the wrong way around. I saw nothing in production for a moment on either side. That's my bad. Was it? Well, yeah, 12 pool. That is still an early pylon, right? Okay, well, early scout from Stats is going to tell him right away that this is going to be, you know, a 12 pool basically. So obviously doesn't see this right away. He doesn't go up to the high ground, but he will now. He's going to come up and he's going to be like, aha. I see, you've got a spawning pool here. He's scratching his head as he sees the 12 pool time. He's just like having a little scratch. He's like, yeah, 12 pool me. That wasn't predictable at all, was it? Alright, well, 6lings are on the way up, so they're going to start heading across to the upper left-hand side of the map. The drone comes down, going to go fighting against this probe. Going to be seeing the hatchery going down. No surprise there. You obviously do want to, get a hatch with this 12 poolers. Zell on the way. Okay, what I find interesting about this is that it's a complete wall on the bottom. Okay, so there is a gap between the gateway and the cybercore, right? That's what I was going to say. If the gateway was right next to the cybercore, then I'm a little bit concerned. Is uh-oh, Scarlett's going to pull the drone. Scarlett's going to go for this. Okay. You know, this is one of those scenarios where you want to get a complete wall off of his stats, and Stats doesn't actually have a unit here to see these drones on the way, so he might not be able to see this in time. He's going to see it now. The probes are kind of out in the front. They are not going to get a wall off, and the drones are in. Okay, Scarlett's going to go for the pylon here. This is the most important target because you get the pylon, you stop production. Is that Zealot going to get out? The Zealot is just going to get out, but it's fully surrounded anyway, so it goes down instantly. Hey, Stats is in some serious trouble here, guys. Stats is no, he's messed up. He did not have a wall of up, and Scarlett is looking to put Shopify Rebellion on the scoreboard. Another Zealot gets fully surrounded. No way out of this. The probes come in to fight this. Scarlett has lings against probes. Right now, Stats has 0 units and 0 way to get units. He's got 1 Zealot in the back still, actually, but it's not going to be enough, and Stats has nothing left. Scarlett puts Shopify Rebellion on the map, and Scarlett fights back on Submarine. Just like that. 1-1. And 6-0 Saturdays have. Lambo and Trap. Game number 3 and game number 4 of this best of 7. Top right, our blue Zerg player is Lambo. How about that? Level 10 tactics. Hey, that's just progress. I mean, he's looked good. Don't forget, Lambo is undefeated in this league so far, right? 2-0'd in week 1. 2-0'd against Solar in week 2. Gonna be his toughest test yet, as Trap shows up to try and spoil his streak. Trap also undefeated in the league. 2-0 Harstam, 2-0 against Ina. So both of them have excelled in the mirror matchup. First time they're playing non-mirror in the league, and again, one of them will have to lose their very first map of the league right here. As Lambo didn't even look to try and take this hatchery on the natural. He goes straight across the map. Probe double checks that hatchery is going to go down. That's just making sure it is in position. And just making sure it's actually being taken. It's not some kind of mind game. Sometimes that drone goes across the map, right? And you expand onto your opponent's natural, or you hatch block, or you proxy hatch, and if you don't check it, you can just die. That's a little bit silly, so... Trap checks that, especially because the drone goes to the right side. That's not your typical third base even in PvZ, that forward one. That's definitely not what you usually take here as Lambo, so there's definitely something about that which I imagine has got Trap a little bit... I'd be a little concerned if I was Trap as to what he's up to. I'd be a little intrigued as to what the heck Lambo is trying to do with that forward hatchery. To me, that suggests something like, something aggressive where you're going to get the creep out from the front there very quickly. You're going to have creep coming across the map early in the game. And that's going to allow some stuff like a queen walk and roach attacks to be that much more effective because of the speed at which they're going to come across the map in comparison to usual. That drone just moves down from the top side. Again, Cybercore is going to be finishing up soon. Nexus is about halfway done. Couple of queens still just continuing through. Link speed is building on the spawning pool. Going to be seeing our Stalker is about halfway done. So Stalker coming through right now. Going to be setting himself up into a Stargate as well. And we've got ourselves a Warp Gate starting behind that. So nothing really too wild on Trap side. I mean, Stalker rather than Adept right away is... I guess you could call that somewhat interesting, right? A lot of the time you just see Adepts right from the start. 2 Adepts coming across the map together to harass. So Stalker going to help to deny this Overlord from getting to see much. As Lambo just going to take his third hatchery in his natural location, of course. So no surprises on that one. And just going to be seeing the... Yeah, I mean, injects continue to come down. Link speed still just building through, and just going to be seeing this probe of Trap, or this, whatever it was of Trap that's coming back to the upper right side. It must be a probe, right? Just checking that Lambo has got another hatchery down. There's nothing else that can be. The Stalker's still at home, so... Okay. Good scout here from Trap then, just again confirming everything, trying to make sure he's fully aware of if Lambo is trying to cut any corners, if Lambo is trying to be weird or crazy at some point. Now, you've got to keep that up all the way throughout this game, right? You can't just give that up at any stage. You've got to keep on scouting. You've got to keep picking up on that information right now. As these Lings run through, they're going to grab themselves a probe kill. Perhaps Void Ray production comes on through. He went Oracle first, and that's moving its way to the top side of the map. See how Lambo's defense against the Oracle is going to end up looking here as Void Ray. I'm going to be finishing up fairly soon as well. 2 Adepts get forced back right away. I mean, good defense so far. Let's see if the Oracle defense can be as impressive as the Adept defense. I mean, one drone goes down. That's on an undefended natural. These drones are transferring, and that's free pickings for Trap here. As Lambo didn't quite get to save drone 2. The Oracle flies out via a Spore Crawl, which takes a few extra hits. Lambo saves the next drone along. I wouldn't say that was too bad. You get some actual damage on the Oracle. Couple drones die. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible. Obviously, it wasn't ideal, but could have been worse. Lambo minus supply block at the moment. He has been losing that Overlord due to the Void Ray. Trap nearly loses the Oracle this time around. Lambo loses a second Overlord right now. He's continuing to build them. He's going to be on supply block soon. With gas count building, creep spread pushing forwards, and the roach run about to be done, guys. I think we're about to see a bunch of roaches. I'm wrong. We see more drones on the way. Interesting. I just thought I know he was supply blocked and stuff, but with how many overlords he was building, I really thought he was gonna like spam out the roaches just then. Not the case. I was gonna keep it droning. Now he's actually been losing another overlord. So that's 3 overlords he lost out on, and that's obviously quite expensive at this stage, as we do go into the Twilight Council. And the Forge on a follow-up, so no secondary Stargate or anything, just a couple of these Voids to begin with. And we already started to make our way into Charge and a Templar Archive, so if Lambo wants to be aggressive here, probably unlikely to see a, I mean, he's starting to build roaches now. I feel like Charge Archon is like a brilliant setup against like a big Roach Queen Walk, right? It feels like all the Canadians you want Chargers to get in front into tank, deal some damage. The Archons, that splash is going to help a lot. Trap has seen the Queen starting to make their way over. I feel like this plan was kind of obvious from the beginning of the game with where Lambo took that forward hatchery. He is now starting to make his way forward, so Queen Roachling slowed down quite a bit by the fact he had to, you know, wait for those overlords a little bit before he could continue drones. So that's going to definitely affect somewhat of what he can afford here as his first Ravages begin to morph in. The good news is that obviously here on Jagannathi you've got kind of an open area as Lambo to fight in. You know, Trap can obviously fall back and defend his third base, but that's going to leave his natural a little bit open. So you can definitely work in a couple of different positions here as Lambo. Let's see what he can do, as he'll have Files on his side. A couple of them going to try and ward off the army to the right side. Super Battery already forced on the natural expansion. Queens do have their transfusions ready. I'm surprised at the speed at which he dropped the Super Battery, and the fact it's on the left-hand side here definitely feels that's going to expose the natural a little bit in the future, or maybe even just expose this space here. Burst of Battles on that Archon, and that's massive because it's just going to go down instantly. No healing because the batteries can't heal as it morphs in. A couple of Zealots walking on the left side, but they run back, so they're now not part of this. Biles are going to go down this cannon in the pylon, empowering some of the batteries. Lambo has control over Trap's third base. The Queens are still holding themselves strong. There's a couple transfusions remaining, and Lambo is absolutely going to get rid of the third base. I don't think there's anything you can do to hold this, as Void Rays have to keep on dodging. The Queens are slowly making their way towards that. He's going to realize that's a low HP Archon. There's no way you let that get away. Lings are going to chase it, kills that off. And Trap's third base is in some serious trouble. I think he popped the Super Battery way too soon on that natural expansion, as Lambo right now is looking to be the player that stays undefeated here. Takes down the third Nexus. Couple Void Rays still trying to fight. Couple Queens are on their own, though. That's a bit of a shame. These Queens can't really be protected properly. Somehow the Void Rays back away. Is there a transfusion? There is. The Queen stays alive. Couple more Biles. Queen stays alive again. How many times can this Queen keep getting away with it? Surely this time it goes down. It does. As Lambo is still biling down the front door, looking to clean this out and try and break into the natural as the next step of this attack. He's droning it at home. He's building a lair. He's building a Baneling nest. All he wants to do is not to overcommit and lose too much of his army all at once here as these Zealots run on forward. I mean, he's kind of got to stand and take this fight, right? Queens are quite far back. Love the movement of the Void Rays from Trap. He's really keeping them active for as long as possible, keeping them in the fight without being in range of the Queens, right? And that's a very valuable ability to have, to be able to do that. I love this Overlord. A little bit of creep to speed up the escape of the Queens. He turns around, he gets one of the Void Rays finally. These few Queens are unlikely to survive, right? I mean, they are the slowest units in all of this. They are definitely going to be the ones to end up falling. The damage from Lambo is insane, though. He comes out of this 77 workers versus 44 probes, 61 army supply versus 34. I mean, what does Trap have on his side? I think Trap's best option is kind of like a big attack. He does have a lot of Immortal Archon. Lambo's going to lose a couple of OVC. He's going to try and protect his Overlord by biling around that Void Ray, but that's just going to go down. He's actually got a bunch of Overlords over here that are in a bit of trouble. What do you do as Trap? He's getting a Prism. He is going to restart a Nexus. I think you kind of have to restart the Nexus no matter what, but yeah, it just felt like maybe Trap had the tech units to come across the map and do something, but at the end of the day, you're still fighting against a 4-base Zerg with 80 drones who is maybe going to lose a couple now, but Queen's coming across, and this should be the end of the Void harassment. Lambo can get a single spawn on this base, and there's going to be not much else to talk about there. Void Ray coming back around, just going to be seeing the Lings moving around this, the Roaches, sorry, moving around this left side, so a little bit of a run-by attempt. Again, Trap being very good with that Void Ray usage, as Lambo is maxed out. Jeez, he's going to go for this again very soon. The one thing that Trap can do here is obviously use this Prism to try and buy time, force Lambo back, and to, you know, keep Lambo at home. Lambo should obviously be able to recognize that. I think this army is not one which is meant to win Trap this game. Trap building a Robobane, a second facility. He's ready to go into Disrupt as he knows how to win this out. He knows what he needs to do is The Prism is out on the far right side of the map. It's not in the main or anything. It's not looking to counterattack just yet. As this is going to be Lambo pushing through. Come and try and take Trap down. Here in this game, number one between the two of them. Looking to put the Shopify Rebellion up in the lead. Here we go. Banes are rolling forwards. A couple of corrosive valves coming down. A couple of these force fields being broken. And we jumping on top of this. These Hydras are going to continue coming through. These couple of Archons continue to drop as well. And Trap just does not have the numbers to defend this yet, guys. With the Hydras involved, the Banes involved, this army is improved from Lambo. This is just not ever meant to be a defense from Trap at the end of the day. He lost way too much on the initial waves of this attack, and, you know, he fell too far behind for this attack, or this version of the attack, to ever fail. There's a few units going down across the map. I think those Archons are causing trouble once again, but in comparison to what's happening over here, it just don't matter. A Zealot and a Void Ray, okay, I mean, looks like the Hydras are dealing with everything over there anyway. These couple of Immortals trying to micros. Trap tries to stay alive, but it just ain't happening. GG. And Lambo is going to take the Shopify Rebellion. A second map here. The chance for Lambo to put the Shopify Rebellion onto match point. The chance for Trap to tie this series 2-2. And to take everything down to Beyond versus TY. As the Shopify Rebellion really kind of showing a good team effort once again. To be able to make themselves competitive against the top dogs, or one of the top dogs in the league. Lambo is in the upper left-hand side, our blue Zerg player, taking on the bottom right side. It is Trap. Isn't Lambo like the number 3 non-Korean Zerg? It's hard to say, right? Like, I'd say, like, you look at his results, and the laser's obviously up there as well. But, yeah, you know, it's, he's definitely top end of Europe, right? And he's definitely very good. So top 3, maybe not, but he's definitely right up there, you know? Yeah, Laser's above Lambo. I'd say Laser's above Lambo too, but I actually think looking at a Laser's results lately, I wouldn't say a Laser was necessarily that much stronger than a Lambo. You know? You guys agree? Disagree? I feel like a Laser's always a difficult one to judge. I feel like he's, Laser's one of these players that constantly, kind of goes up and down a little bit. You look at Laser's placing in tournaments over the year, last year compared to Lambo, they're pretty similar. The biggest difference was that a Laser played better in both the TSL events, and that was actually pretty much the entire reason. He is 140 points ahead of Lambo in ESL points last year, and he got 160 points from TSL events that Lambo didn't. So in actual DreamHack events and so on, Lambo actually did a little better than a Laser overall. So yeah, yeah, I mean, obviously TSL events are worth keeping in consideration as well, but yeah, I'd say a Laser's probably stronger, but Lambo makes a case for himself to be a little bit better at times, right? The thing is, if you put Lambo and a Laser against each other, I think Lambo has a winning record against a Laser lately. Anyways. We go into this game number 4 of the best of 7. That's going to be seen. Our Adept is on the way up, and see Lambo just going to be having to play against a Stargate here once again. He's not really doing anything in particular this time around. No block on that Nexus this time as well, so Trap is able to just expand onto the natural. Now this is a map where you can get up to 4 bases rather easily, of course, and this hence might be a map in which we see, you know, double Stargate and a bunch of Void Rays building. That's absolutely a possibility here. And Adept shades out over that left-hand side. The Stargate about to complete. Negotiating it forward, this Adept, and keep up the scout and information at the moment. So Adept having a look to see what's going on. As we are going to be seeing our Zergling speed coming through right now, about to finish up. Like, everything's very stunning, guys. You know what I'm going to talk about instead? I'm going to talk about the fact that the Afreeca Freecs have a 78% bet rate on the channel. 78% to 22%. Everybody feeling the Afreeca Freecs today, but Obviously, the Shopify Rebellion in the lead right now. To be fair, I looked at this lineup and I definitely put Shopify Rebellion as the underdogs as well, but so far they've absolutely stepped up. Remember, games 5 and 6 of this series will be Beyond versus TY. It's going to be tough for Beyond, especially after he choked against Innovation last week. It's definitely going to be a big one for him to try and bounce back, you know? Only upgrade coming in, just going to be seeing our couple queens joining up, and this Oracle of Trap makes its way up into the natural. Pops down a couple of drones already, so a couple of drones go down, comes across, wanted a third drone, doesn't quite get it. Wings of Lambo still out in the centers. These couple of Adepts going to get a few more drones again. 5 workers killed, and Adepts is going to go shading out into the center again. This is obviously pretty bad damage for Lambo. I mean, anytime you're letting these Adepts, and just damage like this gets so much early game. That's a problem. That's 7 workers dead. For the cost of what, 2 Adepts? It's not pretty. I mean, this is just early game PvZ, right? If you let things go a little bit out of hand, everything can fall apart so quickly. And this is basically very reminiscent of what happened with Scarlett's stats on this map, right? Scarlett ended up losing 6 workers early in the game. She tried to run Lings across the map, they got denied. Oh my god, more Adepts show up as these Lings wanted to counter, and Trap is just showing up again. This isn't just 2 drone kills, guys. This is 2 drone kills, and all of these drones pulled away, so it's lost mining time. It's now 4 drone kills and lost mining time. Again, this is some pretty serious damage as the Oracle on the upper left. We don't actually have player cams on, but I wish we did, because I genuinely believe the player cams here would be kind of Lambo. Looking a little bit kind of like, oh, really? Like, I can't believe... You know, I take the first map and then I let this happen to me, you know? That's the last thing you want to happen. Is Trappy is going to play into that Robo base. We're going to see Void Rays into Disruptors. And that's obviously becoming the go-to style. Oh my god, Lambo has just no Spore in this natural expansion still. The Oracle coming back in. Oh my god. 5 drones dead again. All of this, the thing is, you look at the work and you're like, well, Lambo still has 72 workers, but that's workers which should have already been turning into unit production. And that's the issue, right? Every time you're building drones and replacing drones, not only is it money you're not mining with those drones as they're dead, but it's money you're spending that should have already been going into the units. So it gets to a point here where Trap gets to a stage where Lambo just can't really, you know, keep up. Now, fortunately for Lambo, I would say Trap's going to go triple Stargate. Now, do you think that's I do think the triple Stargate is going to be kind of the best go-to right now, right? Like, for Lambo's point of view, because a third Stargate sort of says that Trap's going to sit back and not do much. And if Lambo's going to, like, if a big attack came, say Trap goes like +1 Blink Stalkers behind this or something, right, and he attacks, Lambo's not likely to have an army to fight back against that. Against triple Stargate, Lambo's going to be given some time, and yes, Trap's on his way up into carriers, but if Lambo can just cut some corners and start to prepare for those carriers, maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to do something. Of course, Trap's going to get up to carrier production for free, so that's obviously great for him. You know, he's going to be able to get into this, you know, air army, which is going to look very good, and Lambo won't be able to do anything to stop that. But, even with that, you know, sometimes, like I say, at least, it feels like, is it just the better of 2 evils on Lambo's side? It's like he doesn't die now, but he'll just die when the carrier count gets up. That's the thing, right? Because he's definitely behind. I don't know. It's tough. Gonna drop the double spire and a hive, so he's gonna attack up a little bit further. There's obviously a fleet of Void Rays up in the sky. Disruptor is going to keep you safe from any sort of timing here, so you can't really go for a Hydra attack into this or anything. Because then the Disruptors are going to force your Hydras back, and as your Hydras are split, Interceptors are just going to basically kill off everything else. Again, 100 drones. Lambo's economy is kind of insane, but Yeah, I guess we'll see. Like I say, the double Spire, he's gonna go into Corruptors pretty quickly here to try and deal with this. I mean, how many Zergs have we seen recently? I can think of a couple games yesterday where we saw Zergs trying to get up into that kind of Hydra count for so long against these carriers. And the Corruptors are the real answer at the end of the day, right? Get into a Corruptor count that can come in and fight them. It's tough because of the Void Ray count as well, of course, because the Void Rays are really good against Corruptors. And that's why you kind of need a little bit of a mix of everything initially, I suppose. Ventures out, kind of takes down a creep Jimmer or so. Lambo is maxed, but it's a maxed army that can't take a fight anyway, so it's again not going to be one he moves on the map with at all. Starting to build those Ultras, trying to get a bit more of a ground presence. The Ultras actually have a pretty cool role to play in ZvP lately, where you get a couple of Ultras up, and once those Ultras are up and running, what you're going to be able to do is, you know, they actually really do represent well on the ground. They can get on top of Disruptors and so on, and if you want to kill them off, they actually eat a lot of Void Ray and Carrier damage, and that obviously then gives your anti-air a lot of time to pick away at that Void Ray Carrier count. So then you've got to make a decision. Do you protect the ground army and the Disruptors and stuff against the Ultras and, you know, the High Templar and so on? Or are you going to, you know, continue to let those kind of shred and fight the Corruptors and the Hydras? It's, you know, that's why the Ultras have been kind of cool lately. They actually do have a fairly reasonable role to play. It feels counterintuitive, right, to build Ultras when it's like Void Ray Carrier, like, well, what's it going to do? But, yeah, they've been useful. Of course, Trap's about to max out here, and he will start a move on the map, it seems. He's taken a bottom side base that Lambo has not been able to do anything about, and again, that's the biggest issue of all, is that Lambo's not even found a chance to move on the map here with anything. Which, again, can't really blame him for. The way that this early game went, he was playing from behind, and it makes sense that he's not really being able to find any opportunities like that. He sees the 5th base, he sees the Zealots there. He knows he can't jump on that. I mean, at some point you got to question, when does Trap kind of just go for this, right? When does Trap just sort of commit to a, you know, commit to an attack across the map that he doesn't pull back from? Because he's got good upgrades on those carriers for sure, and I don't know if this is really an army of Lambo that can take that on. He's going to try and fight this. He gets a cancel on the 5th base. It's a lot of Lings that are going down as they try and just target down static defense here at the end. Lambo rebuilds 8 Ultras and 6 Corruptors off of those Ling losses, so I mean, it's an army he had to replace. So in that regard, this is somewhat okay as well, and he's getting those units up. I mean, 8 Ultras seems a little overkill almost. I still don't know if he's got anywhere near enough to take down this Void Ray Carrier count. I want to say he probably doesn't, to be honest. But, let's see. As now Zealot's going to hit the upper right-hand base, and all of a sudden you don't have those Lings up, so you don't have the mobility that you used to have. First Ultra that pops out here is going to turn around and actually will do very well against the Zealots and will get the cleanup on them, but again, it's something to worry about. Those Zealot run by is something that you've got to be able to deal with now, as Trap's obviously showing the ability to use the nice chump on the Queens with the Disruptors. 3 Queens go down, another in the front gets caught. Lambo knows about the bottom left base again. Oh, this Ultra's kind of on its own. The other Ultra's showing up. And this is not a pretty position for Ultras to fight into, right? They are just running through a choke point here. The Storm's coming through. I mean, the Corruptor's trying to fight up on the high ground. Up at the top of your screen, I should say, instead. But, I mean, the Void Rays actually did very well against them. Parasitic Bombs came through, and Void Ray count goes down quite a bit. But when you rebuild off of this, one player has 2k in the bank. The other guy has absolutely nothing. And Trap doesn't even really fall back. He kind of just comes off to the side. He's going to kill this forward base of Lambo. Make sure this base isn't mining any further here. And then we go from there, as obviously Trap is now back up to 5 bases. I don't think Lambo has an army to realistically go defend or deny 5 bases off of Trap. He's obviously just kind of stuck on 5 bases himself. Prism into the main is going to double back from where the Spore Crawler was just firing at it from. He sees the Ultras, though. He decides it's not worthwhile. Corruptors will go up and clean that out, so at least Lambo will stop Trap from getting any further damage done for the moment, and that's good. That's a nice little victory, because the last thing you want here is for Trap to be able to pull you around with Zealots in your main base and be taking damage from that, while you need to be fully focused on the main Sky army that's out on the map still. A few few more drones going down over here. Lambo's worker count's only at 67, and that's... Okay, so in one way that's good, because he's got a little bit less drones, he can have a higher army on the map, but it's not good because he doesn't have a bank. And without a bank here, what are you really looking at utilizing? You've got to win one fight, but that's not how Zerg works in these ZvP scenarios. Trap's also just building up a ton of Immortals, and those Immortals are going to absolutely shred these Ultralisks, and all of a sudden that kind of power on the ground I was talking about that Lambo had, that's going to be nowhere near as effective as it was before. So it's a problem. Lambo is coming across. He's maxed out. He's going to give Trap 0 extra time to try and prepare against this. Lambo dodges the first storm, lets the Ultras take the lead. Tell you what, a couple of Immortals in the back there. Not in too great of a position. He does force the High Templars to become an Archon before more storms come down, and Trap realizes that this isn't good for him. He's going to recall the carriers out of this fight. Good jump from Lambo onto this bottom side army. Hey, that was actually nicely done, to be fair. That was, feels like this was a better scenario than you expected to be. Trap warps in a massive Zealot's top side, though. And all these Ultras do go down. That was a good jump from Lambo. He definitely found a better fight for himself there. That's the sort of fight you need to find. Again, the problem is going to be the Zealots. You just gave up your ground army to make this attack happen, and now that means you've got Zealots in your 5th base and your 4th base. And the Ultras take quite a while to build, so while they're on the way up, you just do not have a defense against Zealots. And that's why Trap is warping in these Zealots. That's why he knows it's pretty safe to do, because he knows just what Lambo gave up there. He knows how much he can commit to these and how much he can get out of it. Resources lost telling you the tale. When Lambo is trading worse than the Protoss player, it's kind of the way it's meant to be, but he's not had an economy to justify it, right? Like, that's how Zerg's games are meant to go, but then Zerg's also meant to have the better economy all game long, and, you know, the additional bases, and if you looked at the income graph now, it would not be telling you that tale. Trap has been in a much better eco position for a major part of this game. Yeah, there was a time when Lambo had like 100 drones. Now Lambo's on 70 drones versus 75 probes. He's the one that can't keep 5 bases up while Trap just mines, not comfortably. Yeah, he's had a couple of attacks on his bases, but he has been able to keep on mining, right? Without too many disruptions. Right now, what Lambo needs is a couple of free picks. He needs these Vipers coming big time, I think. There's storms coming down. Blinding Cloud going to force this army back. Here we go. The Corruptors are not able to find their way into the fight. He abducts in a carrier to begin with here. Like I say, he's trying to find like slow, efficient trades, but I don't know if he's got time to make slow, efficient trades. Look at the Archon counts. That's the sort of army that's going to be amazing against this, because Archons are great against Corruptors, and once those Ultras go down, there's going to be nothing to kind of take the Archon's attention away. 9 Archons, chunky boys, coming across and looking to try and push on through as Travis on top of Lambo's bases. And 17 minutes deep, Lambo's going to try and build in some Broodlords as something of an answer. The problem with the Broodlords is you need to be able to protect them, and I'm not sure the Corruptors are going to bring that role to the table, as Ultras are going to counterattack, and that's not a bad idea. And DT will warp in against them, no Overseer there, so that will eventually pick those off. As here come the Broodlords to try and muster up some magical defense against this Archon carrier Void Ray army that looks to be somewhat unbeatable. Trap's going to respect the Broodlords. He's going to back it off a little bit at least, but he's already put Lambo down to 4 bases. 4 bases that might be 3 in a few moments. 46 drones dead. In the upper right-hand side, GG well played, says Lambo, and Trap is going to take it. Lambo played a pretty good game, considering Lambo fell behind early. Right, Lambo was in a very rough position, and I feel like he did a lot of things right to at least give him a better chance of staying alive and maybe getting Trap